Welcome to GBALL Vision, everyone. I hope you are having a fantastic day today. We have a controversial topic to go over today. We're talking about regulated weapons, illegal knives and weapons, and all the things that go along with them. Now, before we even get started, you will have to check your state and local laws because weapons like knives and knuckles and that sort of thing are not federally regulated in the United States, but they are regulated by state. So it will vary from state to state, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And when you get outside of the United States, knives that are opened via a button mechanism or a switch, just like up above us in Canada, these are illegal. And they are illegal all over the world in various spots. Now, I posted a short a couple months back, and I received a lot of comments from people who thought for sure that automatic knives like this right here, this Microtech Ludt, were basically legal anywhere and everywhere with no issues regarding them. And it was then that I realized how uninformed people were. Now, in the United States, we have a lot more leniency than a lot of other places for sure. But even within the United States, like I said, these are heavily regulated. Some places you can own them, but you can't carry them. Some places you can carry them, but you can't conceal carry them. Some places the blade length has to be under 3 inches. Some of them are under 2 inches, I believe. Now, I don't know the nomenclature verbatim. This isn't to discuss that either. This is basically just to bring out some goodies that I have that are controversial, regulated, or illegal from the United States and internationally. This isn't derived towards just the United States. There are plenty of people who watch YouTube and my channel that are not just in the United States. So, to kick things off, I figured we would start with the iconic Microtech Ludt. This was actually the first Microtech that I ever bought, and I got lucky when I got this because back when I bought this, these were extremely hard to find, extremely hard to get. And I just happened to be on DLT's website, and I was like, "Ooh, I really like that." I had the money, and I ended up getting one. Little did I know, most of the time these are out of stock. Now they do drop them in bigger batches, so if you are interested in getting one of these, they can be had. You just have to find the right time to do so. And another one is the Protech Godson. I absolutely love this little stiletto out the side auto. And that's what these are both referred to as, out the side autos, meaning that when you push the button, the blade comes out from the side, opposed to an out the front, it shoots out the top of the handle. So these are out the side autos, and I know I have a bunch of people in Canada who watch my channel and other various countries as well. And in most of those countries, these will definitely be illegal to own and carry, all that sort of thing. Uh, Going back to the short I posted, which does now have over 400,000 views, I think. Uh, there was a lot of controversy in those comments, and at a certain point, I just quit arguing with the people who felt the need to tell me that these were legal everywhere. Basically, there was no issues with these anywhere. So at a certain point, I quit arguing, and that's been back in January now since I made that short. And I figured why not do a little deep dive into some of this stuff today? And those are a couple out the side autos, and those are going to be heavily regulated in jurisdictions in the United States. And of course, they will be heavily regulated or outlawed outside of the United States. And then the next, we have the out the front autos, which means, like I said, the blade does shoot out the top of the handle. This is the Axial gear. Now I can't think of it. It's an Axial gear. It's not the Shift. It's not the Alpine. It's the Dart. The Axial gear Dart. And this thing is a little beast. It can double as a money clip. The button is extremely, or the switch is extremely comfortable to actuate. And then you have this cool hollow ground here, flat ground Tanto blade. You have a horizontal satin flat here with a black wash coating. I just love the way this thing looks. And it doesn't look that ergonomic, but it really isn't that bad to, you wouldn't want to be bearing down on this knife all day long, but for some light duty things, EDC type tasks, this would be a phenomenal choice if you're looking at an out the front style of auto. And I do have a couple more of those to bring out. So here is a Microtech Ultratech. This is in 204p. It's the Tanto variant with the satin uppers and black washed lowers. I love the look of this Tanto blade. And these come very slicey, very sharp, come with a great edge. This has a green aluminum body, where this has a blue aluminum body. The switch on the Axial is definitely more comfortable to actuate over and over again than something like the Ultratech, which is not which is not unbeknownst to anyone who's ever handled an Ultratech or has an Ultratech. The switch works very well. You get a ton of traction with the switch. It's just not the most comfortable thing to actuate over and over again. As you get a couple, or you use one over and over again, eventually you do start to kind of get used to it, but it still does fatigue your thumb over the course of time. The Ultratechs are kind of the pinnacle of out the front autos. And I do have another one here. This is the drop point version with the red aluminum. This one is an M390. You have the same basic setup on the blade with the satin flats. And then it's a PVD coating, I think. It's not really a black wash. It's a PVD style coating. Out the fronts are going to be very heavily regulated as well across the United States, across the world. And there's one thing I don't understand is what makes any one of these any more dangerous than this. I can flip this knife out just as quickly as I can push this button. Well, so you can get a manual knife out and open it just as quickly as you can with an out the side or an out the front. There's not going to be much of a difference. And this is just one I have laying here, but there are plenty of other manual knives that you can get out of your pocket and deploy just as quickly, if not quicker sometimes, than these out the sides. Sometimes a front flipper like this Sharp by Design here, you can get this out of your pocket, and as soon as it clears your pocket, you can do, without even really changing your grip, you can front flip these very quickly. So that's one thing I don't understand. I don't know if it's because these are really cool, unique knives that they feel the need to ban these or regulate these. After coming into the knife world and becoming part of the knife community, and I always knew automatic knives were heavily regulated and there was issues with owning them, carrying them, that sort of thing. But it wasn't something I paid a whole lot of attention to up until I really, I always thought they were cool and I always wanted to get one and that sort of thing. But it wasn't something I paid a whole lot of mind to in my early years. But as I've gotten older, it really just doesn't make any sense at all to make these knives illegal, because they're actuated by a switch on a spring. You could say the same thing about an assisted manual knife. You know, those you push a flipper tab or a thumb stud, kind of like this Kershaw here. As soon as I push up on these thumb studs, it is flying out. This is assisted. So it's the same idea as a switch or a button, but you're using a stud instead of a switch or a button. It's literally the exact same thing. And, these are not regulated, which is a good thing, but at least I don't think so. I don't know that assisted knives are regulated. They should be fine in most areas, I would hope. But it just doesn't make sense why this is fine, but this and this, they're not fine. It doesn't make much sense. And we'll go ahead and we'll stroll on to the next one, which is going to be a very controversial knife across the world. And this is a gravity knife, the Reate XO. This is a very, very heavily regulated knife, even in the United States, Canada, and everywhere else. It is heavily regulated. There are some areas where you can own these but not carry them, and then there are all kinds of nuances in between that. Sometimes they're just flat out illegal, depending on the jurisdiction. I know, like in Pennsylvania, autos are now legal, but if you go into a bigger city like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure they, as a city, have regulated these to the point where you can't carry these concealed or carry them at all, I don't believe, if you are in the city limits. So just because they are legal in my state, that doesn't mean they are legal across the whole state. So there are tons of little nuances, and that's why I said you are going to want to know within your jurisdiction where you live, what county, all that sort of thing. Even if they're legal in your state, there could be, you know, some fine line laws or regulations within your county, your jurisdiction. It really just is going to depend on where you live, what state, all that sort of thing. Because some states, as we know, for, you know, not better, but definitely worse reasons, uh, they're officials of their state have felt the need to dig their nose into what knife you are possibly going to be carrying. And it's become ridiculous. And thank God we have people like Doug Ritter out there fighting the good fight for us. He's the one who won Pennsylvania its freedom to actually not only own, but carry these knives as well. The gravity knife is definitely a heavily regulated knife, and I don't see it. I don't see why. It doesn't make sense because it's actuated by gravity. That makes it illegal. Um, all it is the same thing as any one of these or a manual knife. It just goes up and down on a track. It's no more devastating than I'll bring it back out, the Vero Synapse XL. It's no more devastating than this guy right here. It just really does not make much sense. And like I said, I want to say it again. You want to check. I'm not saying these are illegal everywhere in the whole world. I'm not saying they're regulated everywhere in the whole world, but they are regulated heavily in a lot of areas across the world. And they are either illegal to own, illegal to carry, conceal carry, or there's limits within what you can carry. You know, like this is a California legal auto. They can't carry these because the blade length is too long. So there's all kinds of minute details within all of it that makes it very confusing for a consumer or someone who wants to get into, some automatic knives. Next up, I'm going to just pull him out here. We have the butterfly knife, the balisong, and these have their regulations as well, just because they're cool. I think that's what it really boils down to. I don't think this is any more dangerous than anything else, as far as a manual knife. But a balisong is definitely a regulated knife. And I want to bring out another one that has its regulations all over the world. Now, in the United States, there are some restrictions and regulations, but for the most part, they are legal to carry, and that is a Karambit. Now, in some places around the world, these are illegal to carry and even illegal to own. And I see a Karambit as nothing more than a very useful knife. Not only would this make a good self-defense weapon, but it would also make a good utilitarian tool as well, like gardening, opening up packages, cutting string, that sort of thing. I think these are very useful tools, and because of movies and whatever else, karambits tend to get a bad rap. But I think a karambit makes an awesome, useful tool. Not only for self-defense, but I'm pretty sure these were designed in some part of Asia for basically gardening and work around their farms and stuff like that. That's why these were created. And then they were eventually adopted into a tactical style role. But there was once upon a time that these were a very utilitarian style blade and blade shape. And then one last thing I want to bring out, we'll put that here, is brass knuckles. These are illegal to carry basically everywhere in the United States. They're heavily restricted, regulated, and outlawed in many places across the world. Don't ask me how I got these. Now, I think you can own these. Like I can own these, but the minute I step outside my house with these, you cannot transport them, you cannot carry them, you can do nothing with these except have them at your house. And at least in Pennsylvania, you can own them, but the minute you step outside your property with these, you could be looking at some trouble, and that goes with anything made from brass, plastic, copper. It does not matter. Uh, they are regulated to a T, and you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. So you're going to want to make sure, if you are carrying something like this or even a single finger knuck, that you are being very careful and cautious and not putting yourself in any sticky situations. But I just wanted to touch on some of this stuff, guys. And for people who are new or didn't know, this is kind of, and there's some knives I don't have here, ballistic knives and some other various knives that are also very illegal or heavily regulated. I don't have those here to show. But I just wanted to give a gist, an idea of what knives can cause you problems if you own them, depending on where you live. That'll wrap it up, guys. If you're new here, click the GBALL Vision logo or down below the video. I would love to have you here. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of all this bullshit. I'll throw up 2 new videos right here. Definitely recommend going and checking this one out. Otherwise, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.